Mirror, mirror on the wall, that is also a magic mirror. Who is the fairest cat of them all? It's me. I already knew it. I was just asking for confirmation. And then he told me yes, and I was like, yay! Hey, welcome back. How are you doing? I'm currently in a land that I shouldn't be in. This is like level 34, and I'm level 11. I haven't played the Witch Hunter very much because um, I'm bad at it. But I decided that I like this character model enough that I wanted to play her some more anyway, because why not? I need to be beautiful. Look at me, luscious full lips, nice hair, nice coat. Oh, lovely pistol, lovely sword. Damn, I am just killing it, girl. Work. And you know what? I do work. Anyway, um, so today I just want to talk about halflings. And you might be saying, Cat, why would you talk about halflings out of all things? And then I'll tell you why it laughs things. Part of the reason I would talk about halflings out of all these different kinds of things is because, well, honestly, I like exploring parts of the lore that are a little bit more obscure sometimes, and I like exploring parts of the lore where I can learn something sometimes. And it turns out there was a lot for me to learn about halflings. I did not know. Oh, thank you for some medallions. I like medallions, but there is a lot. There was a lot for me to learn about halflings, and I just thought it was so interesting. There's 10 pages worth of notes here. 10 pages worth of notes. I don't know if I'm going to share every little bit about halflings, because there was a lot, actually, like way more than I thought there was. Because I kind of knew that halflings were, for instance, like good at cooking, and I knew that they were good at stuff like that. Like I knew that sometimes people employed them as special chefs and things like that. I knew that bit. Oh, and I also thought it would be kind of funny to go here to record the halfling video, because this is like complete opposite of halflings. Halflings have their little moot land, and it's very cute and adorable. And there's also like a bunch of things for some reason as I was reading. So I was reading a Wikipedia article about this, but I was also referencing my Heirs of Sigmar book, which turns out that the Wikipedia and the Heirs of Sigmar book are basically, they're just copied from, I mean, as in like the Wikipedia article is just copied from Heirs of Sigmar. I kind of knew that already, but why not do some actual book work so I could open it up and say, oh look, I did research. Yes. Anyway, so let's see here. The very first thing, and this is a Reichland's children's nursery rhyme. When Mother Raya made the peoples, she measured out some things. To the dwarf she gave the long beards, to the halflings got the chins. To the dwarf she gave the scowlings, the halflings got the grins. To the dwarf she gave the virtues, the halflings got the sins. So right off the bat, you're kind of getting the idea that they're like the jolly folk, like kind of silly. Halflings are a race of short mammalian humanoids dwelling primarily in the Moot Land and the Empire and various other scattered regions of the Old World. Halflings are known for their excellent produce and cooking, but are often discriminated against by other mortal races, particularly men. It is a common belief that halflings are thieves. So, just right off the bat, I'm getting, yes, whimsical, magical little people running around cooking things and giving you beautiful food. But everyone's like, you're a thief. Because, the Empire, as much as I love it, kind of sucks for a lot of people, but it's okay, because when Grazia and Yamina and, of course, Khadija take over, and, they become, Khadija becomes the new empress in this fantasy offshoot I'm writing called Girl Power, but Warhammer. It's okay. She'll make sure that the halflings get taken care of. It'll be perfectly fine. Steerlanders in southern and central parts of the province are particularly notable for their dislike of halflings, resenting the 1,500-year-old division that stole their best farmland, the Moot, and gave it to the Shorties. Shorties here being a pejorative for halflings because, once again, Warhammer, very creative, especially with naming things. And the belief that all halflings are thieves is stronger here than almost anywhere else in the Empire. So, My last video, or one of my last videos was on, I think it was, it was my actual last video was on Steerland, and I kind of get the impression that Steerland is just kind of like a shitty place to be, and this just adds more to it, because then you're like, oh, on top of everything else, they lost their best land to the Halflings, and the Halflings are just better than them in like all these different ways, but they're just like, no, the shorties are stealing our stuff, and it's like, no, they're just better than you, darling, just like, honest to God, just so much better than I just want to shoot this guy like once. Just once. How close do I have to get? Okay, that's pretty close. Oh, it just straight up ignored me. Oh, no, it's coming. Okay. I wanna run it over here so that these guys will kill it for me. Thank you. Spider slain. Haha. I didn't get any experience from that though. But I just find that very funny that, like, even when we're not talking about Steerland, we're still shitting on Steerland. And this next part I thought was actually particularly funny. In the town of Verden, there's a tradition where when celebrating a child's birthday, to make a straw man the size of a halfling and stuff it with treats and candies that he stole from the children. Then it is hung from a tree while blindfolded. Children beat it with sticks until it breaks and gives back the candy. Locals deny that drunks have occasionally used a real halfling for this. Most, if not all, halflings speak their own language, which is separate from Reichspiel, known as Moodish. I find the part about like halflings speaking their own language, and they're just like next to, oh yeah, sometimes people just like tie up these things that are very clearly supposed to be halflings and just beat the fuck out of them with sticks, because then they tell the children it's okay that they stole your treats from you. It's like, once again, just, man, Steerland, you're just not very nice of a place, are ya? You got the skeletons and you got the halflings. But you know what? I bet you skeletons would be friendlier than a bunch of like weird Steerlanders trying to stab you. Well, maybe. The halflings are a race as a whole who are roughly half an adult human size, yet have always seemed to be wherever men have gone. The dwarves record that a tribe of beardless manlings we first thought to be children traveled with the human tribes as they passed through the world's edge mountains. On the other hand, some imperial scholars think the halflings are a race of men experimented on by Verena to find a way to resist chaos, while a few others argue that Renaud created them as a bizarre joke. Regardless of what others say, the halflings simply say they are as they have always been, and they like it quite a bit. Thank you very much. Right off the bat, I really have to admit that, like, I love the halflings, just like the idea that they're just like they love themselves. They're like, hey, yeah, I like being these short guys with a cool sense of humor and like pastries and things. Thank you very much. What do you have, humans? Depression? Chaos cults? Yeah, exactly. You don't even get pies unless we make them for you. We make the best pies. So it's already just like, oh, okay, well, I guess we have to respect them because they make the best pies. What are you supposed to do when you can't even make the good pies? Being rural folk, even in their towns, the halflings are earthy types who enjoy good food, strong drink, a good smoke, and conversation that would turn a Marienburg Marian's ears blue. Expressive to a fault, halflings think nothing of discussing their aunt's nightly business with the perfect strangers in complete detail. Just to pass the time, they love a good chat, and strangers are welcomed by farmers along the roads as they bring gossip, coin, or lunch, or preferably all three. So when they're saying nightly business here, I think they mean like when they're going like to the bathroom and things like that. Just, oh yeah, my aunt, she had to go out and take a big shit. It was weird. I tell you what, I heard it in the next house over. Just like, that's just kind of what I'm imagining here. And you know what? I'm here for it. I love these little guys, and I like that it's like, oh, you could. They're very welcoming. Like, think about it once again. In comparison to the Steerlanders, who are all like, oh, outsiders, what are you trying to do? Steal me daughter and me cow? Probably both. But the halflings are just like, you got any gossip? You got any coin? You got any lunch? And of course, if I was traveling through Halfling lands, let me tell you, I would bring them some sausages every time. Just sausage, 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 sausage. So many sausages. They would always be loving to see me. They would say, "Ooh, is that sausage gravy?" And I'd be, "Hey, this is an invention from the land of America called biscuits and gravy." And they'd be like, "Where's America?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it's in a different like dimension, really. Like you shouldn't think about it too much. Different universe, really." Um, and it is a strange thing, but it is delicious, and they'll love it. And then like next thing you know, like, oh, I make pot pies with the sausage gravy the cat showed me how to make, and I think that would be beautiful. Oh, look, a little tent. Wait, I can mining camp tent. Why can I attack the mining camp tent? Why am I able to attack all these things? That's a big axe. That looks like it's way too big for it. What is that for? What is that for? That doesn't make sense. But, you know, halflings outside the moot usually are seen by small-minded as nothing more than cooks or thieves, or cooks and thieves. Though this is rather unfair because it creates stereotypes out of two halfling traits. Their first is their indisputable ability to make a fine meal out of almost any ingredient. The second is their differing views on property ownership and theft. And I do find this part very funny. Most halflings have grown up in what is effectively a large extended family of siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins by way of marriage, and the like. The practice of taking what is needful, be it a pie, a few crowns, or even a piece of jewelry, is deeply embedded in the halfling character. After all, if everyone is family, why should you ask permission? Of course, they'll let you borrow it. These two traits have led to a perception outside the Mootlands that halflings are a little more than domestic help you have to keep an eye on. Many halflings have a deep knowledge of genealogy, able to trace their lineage to the time of Ludwig the Fat. The greatest treasure of the Moot is said to be the Hafenleiver, an embossed scroll expounding the Hamley line, the Hamley, the Hamley lines, the family lines of many of the Moot's most notable families. The Hafenleiver is kept in by the elder of the Moot, Hisme Stoutheart. Hisme? It's Hisme Stoutheart. Hisme. Hisme? I'll say Hisme. Outside of the Moot, halflings may become restaurant owners, tavern keepers, pipeweed sellers, or street vendors in one of the Empire's many major cities. They may become innkeepers or farmers in a human village. They also have a strange affinity for ogres, serving as overseers for ogre work crews or cooks for ogre mercenary bands. Once again, I love it. I love the idea of having my ogre mercenary band, and they just hire a halfling because they know that he's going to make them the best roasts that they've ever had, just hams and roasts and I have to admit, to get to the cat's heart, you can get to his stomach through heart, heart through stomach. I mean, many thing, put thing in mouth, and I love. Wait, no, no, yeah, that's correct. Just I eat lots of things. I can eat almost anything, even rocks. So if you put some seasoning on a rock, I'm down. I'm down to clown with that. Oh, hey, how you doing? Just wandering around. Don't mind me. It is kind of interesting that the mines almost always look basically exactly the same across this game. No matter what level or area you're in, they kind of look the same. But okay, and this is next part is called How Halflings Came into the World. And it starts with the Mad Count of Averlin, Marius Leapdwarf. I notice when mootlings are small, easy to forget, simple to suppress, and crush under the boot, you need the Emperor close, so you can remind him you're here. Ha! Do you think Boris Todbringer will give a goblin's chuff about you? Ha ha. And this was him trying to intimidate the elder Hisme into voting for Karl Franz. Halfling history records precisely when they arrived in the old world from the lands to the east on the Betzeltag, just in time for morning tea. Scholars have found evidence dating back to the 2nd century of the imperial calendar. Some halflings claim to have ancestors who met Sigmar and shook his hand, but this seems unlikely. There were several waves of migrations with halflings establishing small settlements across the border princes, then spending several centuries in a semi-nomadic state, moving through Telia, Estalia, and Bretonnia before most of their numbers settled in the empire. They have been quite content to remain there since, but halflings hold little value in permanence. There might come a time when they will wander the world again. And this is about the creation of the moon. No event since their arrival has been more significant to halflings' history than the creation of their homeland in the year 1010 IC. Although human historians are swift to point out that Emperor Ludwig the Fat founding the county was done as a joke at the expense of then Elector of Steerland, halflings are quick to respond that any good joke has meaning and possibly truth behind it. More careful historians have noted that Ludwig had a rather quick-witted halfling jester. This might have something to do with how the halflings acquired nearly 10 million acres of some of the most fertile farmland in the empire. Yes, if you make good jokes, the emperor will be like, yes, here, have the best land. And then you can make the best food. I would live in the Mootland. I would help protect the halflings. I would be a good cat defender of the halflings and eat their good food. And I hope they make good sandwiches. I bet they do make good sandwiches. I'm very much a big fan of like big submarine type sandwiches, you know? This guy's looking at me like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here, lady. Why is a lady with a gun in our minds? But yeah, so I think that's pretty neat. And of course, the tension between the Mootland as a place, as a concept that grants political power comes to a head in the fact the elector count of the land must, by imperial law, have been born inside the county limits. This law was also enacted by Emperor Ludwig, assuming that the halflings would be unwilling or unable to present a newborn baby at the next imperial election and thus forfeit their seat. The halflings called this bluff and set the task with grave fervency. They were making babies. Just 3 months later, halfling gestation being quite short. Okay, I'm gonna try and say this. I don't know. Pulchritudinius Truddy Talltree was presented, the youngest imperial elector ever to appear at a council. Naturally, she was helped in her decisions by her family, and this tradition has continued. Moot mothered is a disparaging term used by halflings who live outside the moot to describe how political figures from that place tend to come in very small collection of families and only have mootish concerns in mind. Well, I mean, yeah, if you're the elector count of the moot, why would you have... I mean, okay, I understand that, but I guess they're like, well, you should support your halfling brosivs, your halfling brosivs in the outside of the moot, you know, like the moot being the cool place, but, you know, man, sometimes the halfling brother in the other parts of Averland and places like that needs a bit of help. Man, now I want to go to Averland and hire a bunch of halflings so I could have the best tavern ever. Plan noted. I'm going to do that. I'll go over a little bit here of the politics. Almost all halfling politics is settled by a council of elders, a startlingly informal and unofficial process to empire eyes. I would think imperial eyes would make more sense. Every village has a collection of halflings who makes judgments on law and policy, with larger issues or appeals handled in the bigger towns or at the Grand Council in the capital, Echtenstatte. Echtenstatte? How the fuck? Eicheschatten. Eichenschatten, I guess? Councils are usually composed of odd numbers so they have no ties and votes. Once appointed, typical membership lasts for life. Despite the name, there is no age nor gender requirement to join the councils, but they do tend to be composed of older halflings as the appointment is for life. Ambitious halflings must be nominated to join by established member of the council. Elder councils are held at most once a month, but sometimes only once a year. For most of the time, Mootlander society believes in a live and let live approach, leaving folks to settle their differences primarily on their own. Since halfling families are large, with a single household being up to 50 folk, and interconnected, and word travels fast, it is hard to do anything without your own mother hearing all the salacious details. This means compromise and discussion are the tools of the day, and those tools are always at work. The whole place bubbles with chatter. Almost nothing is done without a long discussion beforehand to make sure everyone agrees. This can take a while, and stoic types, dwarves especially, may find organizing anything in the moot an ordeal because everyone has to weigh in, of course. It's not all harmonious as the Mootlanders. Of course, it's not all as harmonious as the Mootlanders like to pretend. Clans and councils intersect, and the decisions and affiliations of their members can come into conflict. Halflings do not live and breathe grudges like dwarves, but families are living memories. Halflings are affable folk because they often have to be passing the day despite great arguments and long-held anger. Moot elders. Although most halflings have a casual approach to life, often that is because they must yield to the dominant cultures around there. Visitors to the moot will often discover every now and then halflings do not have a drop of pomp and circumstance, and can take things. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I misread that. Visitors to the moot will discover that every now and then halflings do have a drop of pomp and circumstance and can take things almost seriously, and this happens most of all in the moot. For example, unlike most of the elector counts, the moot representative must be must be elected by Grand Council of Elders. The Grand Elder is a title they prefer. So basically what you're kind of getting is this idea of like it's like a really kind of dispersed society with all kinds of different things going on, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing really, but it's also not as like, you know, not everything is as calm and nice as they want to pretend it is, and sometimes they have like actual real disagreements, and there is politics and politicking involved and things like that. And I do find this all very fascinating. The halflings, I will admit that out of most places I've read in the Empire, I would probably either rather live in Averland or the Moot. Averland just because I really enjoy almost everything about Averland, and I think it's just like a really fun place, and I really like their state trooper colors and things like that, and I like the big fields and riding around on a horsey going a woo horse. A woo horse sounds fun. But you know, in the halfling places you can get a lot of different uh food, and you can get a lot of nice things to relax with, and I think that's really cool. And here's another thing I kind of find interesting. Bootlander society works because every halfling sees themselves as part of it and has a stake in protecting it. Indeed, visitors may find towns shut down if a council is going on. Not that council days are quiet, nor are halfling holy days either for that matter. Even the highest quarters of the moot are loud bawdy affairs with frequent jokes, appeals to the audience, and audience participation, constant interruptions. Hisme loves to begin official matters with a big raspberry to get everyone's attention. The longest ever Grand Council is said to have been delayed by persistent outbreaks of folks singing, complete with deafening armpit noises by famous elder uh, Abba, Abba Valuta Crumley Wart. Okay, it's very silly, yes. Very, very silly. Just as halflings have politics, albeit in a strikingly informal way, the same is true of their armed forces. The field wardens are one of the most lethal fighting forces in the old world. The field wardens have no named regiments, no uniform, and few leaders. They are fiercely loyal and cunning and dogged, and are all volunteers. Much of their success comes from the fact that they are guarding their homes. They not only know every twig and brush like the back of their hand, they know the people intimately and are usually related to them. This allows them to use snipers and commando tactics. Long-handled staff slings can make a stone travel as fast and as far as an arrow. I like the idea that the bunch of these dudes, like this kind of like a rabble militia, is actually one of the most fierce and formidable fighting forces in the entire empire, or actually the entire old world. It says. So I do find that rather amusing. Uh, but here's another thing. The field wardens also remain vigilant by having a tight focus. They don't care for any lives that aren't Mootland or Halflings. Ogres can take care of themselves. Steerlanders and Everlanders are probably up to no good, and any human coming from the east is more than likely undead, or worse. Visitors who expect help from local authorities will be laughed at. The field wardens protect their own, no more, no less. I'm now imagining being able to basically take over the moot with a decent-sized militia of well-trained soldiers. Or ogres. Let's bring a bunch of ogres to the moot land. There you go. They'll take care of it. They'll do most of the actual defense and stuff like that, I think. Kind of interesting there. And here's the little section about halfling law. I'm not going to read all of this because, like I said, there's like 10 pages here. But I'll share a little bit more. There's a popular saying in Steerland that goes, "There's no law for halflings." In the broadest sense, it means the general. In the general scheme of things, small sins and small sufferings are soon forgotten by sinner and sufferer alike. Others choose to take more literal interpretation that the diminutive Mootlanders pay little heed to laws at all. For Steerlanders, and increasingly Everlanders as well, this meaning has become truth. After all, Steerlander territory itself was stolen by halflings to create the moot. Therefore, they must be a lawless folk with no concern for others. Thus, there can be no harm in stealing from them in return. Once again, just gonna talk shit about the Steerlanders at every opportunity because the Mootland, man, we get our pies. What you got? So it is that Steerland shepherds will graze their flocks across the Mootland. Steerland foresters will wander into Moot Forest for wood and game. Mule skinners will run their lines across the Moot without paying border tolls. Bailiffs and wardens might slide borders ever inwards, encroaching into the Moot, but who is there to stop them? Road wardens and river wardens are charged to defend all the empire under its farthermost climes, but more often than not, stop their patrols at the Mootland's borders. No empire coffers are spent on troops to defend against greenskins or undead invasions. No excise men come to make sure that the Mootish taxes are not undue or unfair. The popular myth is that Mootland is insular and acts as if the rest of the empire is forgotten. The truth is the opposite. The empire wishes the Mootland did not exist. The Moot is a place where halflings look to halflings things, for no one else will take care for them. No one else will care for them. And they often extend this policy outwards. Visitors who come from the big folk, humans, dwarves, and elves, may find that if they seek justice for crimes committed against them, the local Mootlanders will shrug their shoulders and say, "There's no law for halflings." However, halflings do have a legal system, albeit one much more simplistic and far more liberal than the rest of the empire. Human justice is a halfling phrase meaning something cruel and cold. Halflings find executions barbaric, imprisoning people a waste of good labor, and the stocks a waste of good vegetables. Once again, I am loving the halflings here. They have all of the correct opinions. They have all of the correct opinions. Punishment for halfling crimes are meted out by the Elder Council. They are almost always financial, paid in either coin, work, or goods in trade. The most extreme halfling sentence is exile, which is quite severe in a culture centered entirely around community. In some rural areas, halflings will brand exiled folk if they feel the rumor mill won't keep up with the news. But this is rare. The unfortunate consequence of this system, however, is that perpetrator and victim remain in close proximity. You may live and work with your cousin's killer for the rest of your days. Halflings sometimes wait until the dark of night to deliver some human justice to those they feel deserve it. Don't do it, halflings. You're so cool. And there's a bunch of halfling clans here. I'm just going to skip over those because there's a lot. I'm just going to do a little bit about religion here. Deep thoughts butter no parsnips. Do people butter parsnips? I've never heard of that, but I mean, I guess you could. Halfling saying that so is typical disdain for the philosophical. The halflings are very practical about their ritual. In fact, some observers have commented that they are more superstitious than religious. Their gods thus typically have a homely sphere of influence, such as herb lore, cooking, or hearth and home. Halflings also worship some human deities, in particular Sigmar, Tal, and Raya. The moon has no priests nor temples, except for the ones built by them Sigmarites. Built for them by the Sigmarites, but shrines to various halfling deities are common, and village elders are willing to beseech the gods on behalf of their communities, should the necessity arise. Halflings worship gods of the Empire. Sigmar in particular is venerated as one of the great protectors, though there is no record of Sigmar ever mentioning halflings, let alone saving them from something. They also have their own gods, but worship is much more casual than the devotions of humans, elves, or dwarves. Esmeralda is the goddess of home and hearth, whom Pie Week honors. But there are others too. Phineas, patron of tobacco, with the ever full pouch. Josias, the farmer, who always knows what the weather will be, and how can cook's life out of the driest dirt. And Hyacinth, how would you say this? Hyacinth, the goddess of fertility and childbirth. Gaffey, god of building and villages, and Queensberry, god of ancestry and tradition. There are others, but they are obscure and little known to outsiders. So something that's very interesting about all of this to me is that there's a little bit left here. Something that's very interesting to me about this is that halflings just have a very casual atmosphere about everything, it seems, and that's pretty cool. Halflings and magic. Slan mage beliefs recall the chaos began to manifest in the world during this time. Okay, that's weird, because during this time? What time? That's not related to anything. Okay. Halflings are not naturally magical beings. Magic just happens. Magic rings happen to be found. Magic weapons left lying around in the middle of the battlefield. These and many other enchanted items will just happen to turn up in the moot one day and come from all over the world. Even dark, dangerous magic doesn't seem to turn a hair on their feet. There is such a thing as a halfling wizard, but the time it takes to study is often better spent on more fattening exercises. Eating, for example. Halflings much prefer to hire passing mercenary wizards, usually dressed in gray and muttering incomprehensibly about elves and goblins. That's just straight up like a bunch of references to Lord of the Rings, but I do find that interesting. And here's one of the last little bits here. Halfling cooks. Halflings in the mood and elsewhere have never been known as a martial people, but the idea of halfling warriors is the butt of several jokes. Oh wait, no. That goes into something else here. The truth is, however, somewhat different. In defense of their homeland or quarters within a human town during a riot, the normally placid halflings can be aggressive and brave as part of a war effort. Elder Hisme sent a large contingent of halflings to act as scouts and skirmishers for the Imperial Army. Several were mentioned in the dispatches by their commanders for bravery and resourcefulness, though these were often accompanied by complaints from the quartermasters. So, there you have it. The Halflings are basically a very casual people, full of very they have just a casual air about them. They take things pretty lightheartedly. Yeah, there's a little bit of a dark side to some parts of the Halflings because, you know, I mean, I would argue that maybe they're just using their little idea of, oh, well, everything's common to maybe take things that they shouldn't. But still, it's very interesting. They seem like they're very cheery folk, and I really like them. I really like that they look at the human justice system in the Empire and are like, this is just cruelty and stupid, and I like that. I like that. Although I do find it funny that they're like, yeah, sometimes you just gotta met out you know, a little bit of human justice. A little bit of human justice. Oh, hey, look, there's a bunch of orcs down there. What if I target this one and then wave? There, I have waved to the orc. That's fine. Anyway, so that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed reading about the halflings, and now I'm very tempted to make some halfling cook characters to go alongside with Grazia and Yamina and all those others, because that would be a lot of fun. And they could make good pies. Hey man, let's go celebrate Pie Day. Would you celebrate Pie Day? Let me know down in the comments below. Anyway, I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day. Look at this big old bridge. And I love you all, and I hope to see you next time, and I hope that you all have an absolutely wonderful day. Okay, bye-bye. Wait. Bye-bye. Have a great one. God bless.